Hi, in this application I'm using ASP.NET Core Web API with .NET 8 and I'm using Postgres SQL database with the help of Dapper. I'm using clean architecture. What I have done, let me describe. I've created a blank solution with name of Sol, main solution of any name. Then I created a folder with name of SRC. It contains three folders. Two are the major components of clean architecture. The one is core and the second is infrastructure and the third is API. This is my own way to adopt the clean architecture. You may have your own. So in core part, these two projects, solution.application and solution.domain. Domain contains the entities and application contains contracts. Further, contracts are divided into two parts: the repositories and services. Repositories are related to database operations. This one the generic repository and this one the specific one. Specific one, it differs from entity to entity. Like in this example, I'm using employee and I want that an employee should be unique while inserting in database. It should be validated while validation rules applied through validation fluent validation. Okay. Then I have services. Services are used to that are used to interact with controllers, and from controllers you get request and response. So here I have contracts that defines both repository and services. Then I have DTOs that are used to exchange data from client to database. I have add employee DTO. This is of type record because I'm not using uh, typical classes. Okay, uh, this DTO is used to add employee, and this DTO is used to show the list of the employees. Okay, the next thing, the exception. I'm using my custom exceptions because I want to control the flow of these applications. Uh, Normally, when a controller receive a request, it calls a service and service call repository. And if there is an exception in database, then repository it can throw, definitely the system can throw. But if the user is not found, let's suppose, or the credentials are failed, it give response back to the service and service back to the controller, and from controller the final response is given to the client. So I'm bypassing this flow. Suppose if due to unknown reason uh, uh, employees is not inserted or it is not validated at repository level, instead of going back in that hierarchy, I will just throw the exception from repository level, and it will be handled by my middleware that I have defined, and from that middleware I am directly writing response to the clients. Okay, this is my own way to control the flow. You may have your own. Okay, the exceptions are defined, and then mapping profiles. As this is a very simple example, I'm just using a single entity, and in that entity we have very short the properties. So I do have only two mapping profiles. One is add employee DTO to employee mapping profile. I try to keep this name as intuitive so that it should be well understood by its name. You can say it's self-descriptive. The second one is from employee entity to employee list item DTO, right? So these are my mapping profiles. Okay, then I have responses because I again here uh, I want to control a uniform response, either if it is an error or if it is a success. I want to keep a uniformity across my application, so that for that I just created a one response. Then I have validator. uh, this validator uh, is validating the normal properties, as well as it is also using iEmployee repository, and it is ensuring that while applying this validation rule, an employee must be a unique. They should not be a duplicate employee in our database. So I'm also using a repository over here, and I'm checking from database as well. Okay. Then I have a dependency injection. Normally I used my own convention, so I'm adding all the services that are used in the application level, which is a part of a core of a clean architecture. I'm registering over here, like if I'm using AutoMapper, and I want to use each and every profile that is containing in that in this assembly of this class that belongs to application assembly. So again, I'm also getting all the validators. If I have defined number of validators, then I don't need to register each and every one, and so I just getting all the validator through this service registration process. Okay, this is my application layer that come under core, and the next section, that is infrastructure in clean architecture. Okay, in clean architecture we have in infrastructure we have for the two projects. The first one is the actual infrastructure, and the second one is the solution.persistence. In persistence, all the database related operations are performed. Like, I have data. This is a very important things because it deals with Postgres. I'm using my application DB context, but it is not inherited by typical DB context as you have seen in entity framework and some other database providers. So I'm here not inheriting from DB context. I'm creating a private field of IDB connection, and from its constructor I'm using configuration and getting the PostgresSQL connection that is defined in API and app setting. Let me open app setting.json. Over here, this is the connection strings. Okay. Where I was. Okay, this is the application DB context, and it is using a public property named as connection, which is of type IDB connection, which is holding the actual connection, that is new Npgsql connection. Okay, then in persistence we have repositories. This is the employee repository. Okay, it is implementing I employee repository, and I'm just defining only three methods: add, async, employee, and get all async, and is unique by email because it will be used in our validation logic. So in add async, I'm defining an SQL. This is a unique way. This is a for PostgreSQL, that it takes the tables, the names of the tables and columns name in a string form, in double quotes. So I have to give it in a proper way, and I'm giving these columns name and values, and then I'm calling context.connection.execute async, which is a Dapper extension methods. It deals Dapper handles this query non-query operations. Okay, if over here, if I found any error, let's suppose if my row count is not greater than 0, then it's mean data is not inserted. I'm sending my on exception. Over here, if I find any exception, then again I'm sending my on exception, right? Okay, so this is the way I using the flow of control of this of execution of this application. Then again, I'm registering persistent services. All the services that will be used over here, it will be registered over here. Finally, it will go in the program.cs. I will tell you how. Okay, so infrastructure, we have another under infrastructure we have solution.infrastructure. Actually, it contains services that is related to employee. So In that service I'm using sorry, I'm using I employee repository and AutoMapper, and over here I'm trying to add an employee with the help as employee data as a parameter. So I'm calling my validator and getting the validation result. If the validation result uh, is not valid and it has some errors, I'm sending my custom exceptions. So again the control will go towards the middleware, and from middleware to the client, so it will bypass the normal flow. Okay, so uh, my service actually contains only two methods. The first one is to add employee and the second one is to get all employee. Okay, and I'm also registering services uh, that are required in that project. Okay, so now I will move towards my API project. This is solution.api. I didn't write L, so okay. uh, Let me talk about my exception middleware. So I'm using, first of all, I'm catching try to entity validation exception. If it is caught, then this response will be generated. Otherwise I'm checking for outer and inner exception, if there is an outer or if there is an inner exception. If so, I'm just writing this response. Okay, so this is very simple, and if you can see on program.cs, I have registered my all the services that are located in application project, application layer, and same in persistence layer, and same in infrastructure layer. So all the services that I have uh, used, I have registered to that extension methods. I'm using Swagger, and I'm using my own middleware before routing. So let me uh, run this application. And one more thing, in PostgresSQL, I created this database. If you will, in PostgresSQL, you can download the PostgresSQL Server Community Edition and the management tool, that is pgadmin 4. You can download from internet. From that database you will create a new database, and if that database has been created, like I created Sol.DB, so in that, if you will come and you will see schemas, under schemas you will see tables. So at table you will create a new table. I already have created. If I click on employee, and if I go its property, you will see that its name is employee, and in columns you will see I have an ID of type unique identifier argued in C# and name, email, phone number, and created on. So these are some fields. Okay, uh, let me check it. Swagger, let me add some employee. I will try it. Let me try it. Name is Shafiq-Hussain, email test1 at the rate example.com, and phone number 1234. You can apply any validation rule for phone number through regular expression, but right now I'm not doing so. Let's see what is the result. Okay, as you can see, entity employee is added in database successfully. The status is true. What if I want to add it for one more for one more time? You will see a validation error, because validation failed for entity employee already exists in database. So this is the validation rule that I have applied, and same, if I can no, I will add it. It will be added because there is no validation rule for phone number for its uniqueness. If I will execute, you will see the entity employee is added, and To get try it out, let's see and execute it, and you will see all the employees are listed. And the final thing, uh, as you can see that core has two parts. One is the application and the second is the domain or entities. If in application I use these three packages: AutoMapper, dependency injection.abstraction, and validation.AspNetCore. uh, I'm using .NET 8, and currently .NET 9 is in market, so you can use any version according to your .NET. Like if you're using 9, then you should go with the latest one. And in infrastructure, we have two projects: infrastructure persistence and solution.infrastructure. In persistence, I'm using dependency injection.abstraction and configurations, because in application DB context I'm using iconfig. For that I'm using configuration. Then Npgsql, that is .NET connector or driver that is used to communicate with PostgresSQL. Then I'm using Dapper. And in infrastructure, again I'm using abstraction and dependency injection, because at each layer I'm trying to register its own services. For that I'm using for this package. And then AutoMapper, because at service level I'm using auto mapping. So uh, this is the simplest form of a clean architecture with a very simple entity to just show how we can use PostgresSQL with Dapper. Uh, I will upload this whole project on GitHub, and you can view it, and you can give your valuable feedback or suggestions. Thanks so much. Have a good day.